Dr. Miller here with another journal club. This one's called Muscle Hypertrophy. Dr. Miller, PhD. I'm doubling my credentials. Not that either one of them matters, but anyway. I just thought that would be, you can double up, right? All right. Muscle hypertrophy responses affected with an A by previous resistance training volume and trained individuals. Sorry for the ding there, okay? Subscribe to my channel, by the way, if you haven't already. I'm trying to get to 1,000 because I want to be monetized so I can make that money. What is it, like a penny for like 1,000 views? I want to crush it. I would like to get to 1,000 subs. It's probably more of an ego thing. I don't know. I know it would help if I didn't have like a hole in the wall in the background and I was more attractive and, you know, I actually had some video editing skills. But I got this microphone, so I thought that was a pretty sweet upgrade like a while back. So anyway, you're welcome. Subscribe, though, if you haven't already. Check out my video library. It's quite, well, I don't say it's like, compared to most YouTubers, not that big, but it's getting bigger. So journal clubs, I think we're on 30-something or other with this one. Book reviews, educational stuff, rants, whatever it may be. Take a look and see if you find something you like. More dinging. All right. So, by the way, you can also like this video. You can wait till you watch it, though. I'm off to a bad start anyway, so maybe just withhold not liking it to start. The authors of this was Scarpelli, forgive me if I pronounce it wrong, from the Muscular Lab in Brazil. So all these authors are from that laboratory. All right, and I'll put the link, as always, in the video description. Okay, let's talk about the study. It's very interesting. Of course it is, or I wouldn't pick it. I'm cherry-picking studies, right? That's what this is called, a selection bias, okay? Okay, this was the study, and this is why I thought it was really important, though. This is actually an important study, okay? It brings to light some problems with research in general, and then it provides some parameters in terms of hypertrophy volume. Okay, so here is the crux. It was a study with young men that had resistance training experience, 5 years plus or minus 4, which is funny. Average age was 24.8, but the range was from 18 to 35, so a pretty good range. They did an 8-week, these individuals did an 8-week study where they did unilateral leg press, 45-degree leg press, and leg extension to follow. So they did leg press and then leg extension, okay? They did 8 to 12 repetitions to failure, your typical rep range. Let's see, make sure I get all this, and I'll talk about the sets in a second. That's the important part. And then, if you know, they fixed the load from set to set. If you got more than 12, you uploaded, so on and so forth. Okay. Now, this was a crossover leg design, meaning one leg was the experimental condition in each one of these individuals, and the other leg was the control condition, which I haven't defined yet. The outcome of the study was vastus lateralis, so quad muscle hypertrophy. How big did it get? Using ultrasound to determine changes in size. All right, so they measured pre and they measured post vastus lateralis size. This was the crux of the study, though. Okay, thus the name, hypertrophy response is affected by previous resistance training volume. Okay, is through the literature, these authors surmised that 22 sets per muscle group tended to be effective in promoting skeletal muscle hypertrophy. 22 sets. Okay, so that's per week. All right, so 22 sets for muscle group per week. All right, so think about the study was 8 weeks. They're going to lift twice a week. You know, you're looking at 11 sets, let's say, if you divide them equally among both sessions. And then among those 11 sets, you could divide it among the 2 exercises. Okay, so that was the control group. The control leg, if you will, was 22 sets. The other leg, though, was set off of the previous training volume that the participants were engaged in before the study. So the authors took 1.25 times the weekly number set. So let's say they were doing 20 sets per muscle group prior to the study. Okay, they would multiply 20 by 1.2 and you would get 24, right? So they would start with 24 sets. And there's a nice little figure in here that I can't show you because of copyright. Does a nice job of demonstrating that in the individual, in the leg that, the leg that was set with the 22 sets at the beginning, there was somebody who was only doing 10 sets prior to the study. You can imagine that 22 sets is quite a jump. There was somebody that was doing 40, looks like 43, 42 sets. This study then would be a deload for them. This would not promote skeletal muscle hypertrophy. Volume's a driver of skeletal muscle hypertrophy. You're going to have people that are either getting a stimulus they're not used to or a stimulus that is below what they've been doing. Okay? That's the whole point. And then there's a nice little graph here that shows you know, the adjusted volume for the experimental leg. Okay? The 1.2 times. And so for each one of those legs, okay, that was an increase in training volume. So the study then is what happens if we set the volume to the individual rather than just having a blanket volume to give to everybody else. Think about how many research studies then get these wild results, right? Where somebody gets this massive gain and somebody else loses mass. You're looking at the raw data and you're like, why did they go down in skeletal muscle hypertrophy or strength? It's because the volume or maybe even the intensity of a strength study was not it's below what they were doing before, or it's a bump from what they were doing. And so therefore they're going to see gains. The ones that got bumped, the ones that didn't get bumped are going to see losses. That's really a big deal. This is a really important study when you talk about research design, but even working with people, I coach people all the time and I try to understand what they've been doing prior before they start with me. Because if they've been gaining muscle mass prior to what they were doing 4 sets of 10, then if I do 4 sets of 10, I'm going to do exactly what they've been doing. And if I do 3 sets of 10, they could actually not see gains. Or maybe that's appropriate for a maintenance if they're cutting hard or something like that. But you have to know what people are doing before they start. So this study does a really nice job of that. Or the whole premise of it I really liked. I thought this was really important. Okay, so what happened with the study? I'm going to read some of these results to you. It's just easier than trying to explain them. Okay, so the control group had significantly higher changes to the vastus lateralis cross-section. Not the control group, excuse me. The experimental group, the individualized group, had significantly higher changes to vastus lateralis cross-section area than the non-individualized group, the control group leg. Okay. And the difference, let's see, the effect size is what I was getting at here, is 0.75. So that's the confidence interval of the effect size was 0.75. So that's a big effect. Okay. 0.8 is usually like that large effect, right? We're coming up on that. Now, these are some of the things that are important to note. So comparing the individual increases in cross-sectional area, all right? So remember, these are all the same people, and one leg was doing it, one leg was not. 10 of the subjects, so 62.5% of the sample, had greater responses for the individual differences, okay, than for the non-individualized. 62.5% greater had greater responses than the individualized. All right. For 2 of the subjects, 12.5%, the non-individualized promoted better responses. So that was more effective for them. Now, it could have been that 10-set person got 22 sets. Well, they probably got a pretty good bump off of that. That's greater than the 1.2 for the individualized leg. So that person that did 1.2, they would have had 12 sets on the training leg. Okay, on the experimental leg, they would have had 22 sets on the experimental leg. So that could be that bottom dweller, right, in terms of volume, that saw this gain, but it was still only 12.5% saw better results from the non-standardized load. So in other words, the non-individualized load, the non-1.25, just the flat 22. Okay. All right. Let's see. The other thing I wanted to point out was when compared to 8 of the 16 subjects had an increase in weekly training volume greater than 20%. All right. So the people who were not in the leg that was not individualized, 8 of the 16 people had an increase greater than 20%. Okay, so again, going back to that person had 10 sets prior, that's one of those people that saw a massive. So the range of percentage was from 30 to 120%. That 10 set person, the person who did 10 set and jumped to 22 without individualized, that was 120% increase in training volume, right? That's a big spread. Okay. So the point the authors are getting at here, they're going to use this 20% here in their discussion, is that for the non-individualized group leg, okay, a 20% increase was the standard of 8 of 16 people. Okay, and what they're going to do then is tie that to maybe the training volume jump that seems effective. All right, the training volume jump that seems effective when you're talking about training. All right, so what do you take from the study? So I'm kind of wandering the weeds here. Number one, when you read research, the question should be, who were these people and what were they doing before they were training? That could affect the study's outcome. So you do something and you're like, oh, this didn't work. It could have been that the people the volume you're using for the people in the study was too low. It's the same thing with nutrition, right? You could say this supplement doesn't work, but the dose wasn't enough. It's the same thing here, dose-response relationship, okay? So that's the first thing, is this just adds another skepticism that you should have about research. And when you look at the raw data, that's something you could be thinking, like they provided the raw data here with the vastus lateralis, or at least from one leg to the other. And you can look and see, well, what's the deal? Why are these individuals maybe not seeing the effect like the authors thought they would? Maybe it's just that they were more trained than the others. So when you have lump a group of people together and they call them trained, you're going to get a heterogeneous group still of people, typically. It's very rare that you might have a study that's very homogeneous. Like that could be a study of 5 elite ski champions, but then you're like squat strength. It's like, well, maybe some of them don't squat. They're just awesome freaking skiers. So even then it's hard to get that group. So I'm not saying all research is crap. Research is hard, but this points out another hole in the research. The second thing is, it looks like a 20% increase was beneficial, right, over time. So from where somebody started and to the volume that they trained up to over these 8 weeks, a 20% increase was effective. So that could be an effective goal, maybe over 8 weeks. That's quite a jump in 1 week. Okay, that'd be quite a jump in 1 week, but that could be the course. Over the course of a long cycle, I was thinking, hey, for the goal for the cycle of 8 weeks, just taking this study at its face value, at 20% could be an effective movement, right? Effective bump in volume. Okay.